as a young team, you probably have to manage that a little bit, but I think based off the past and the big games that we've played in, we haven't let the occasion get the better of us, and we've just gone out and done our job and do what we're asked, and I don't see that being any different no more.
Is it something you talk about, preparations, mentality, and just sort of tactics and that side?
Yeah, you can do all the tactics and know your job all the best in the world, but you have to go out there and do it, and you have to do it 100%, you have to do it properly. So I think we know that as a team, we're a good group, we enjoy being around each other, and we know how tough it's going to be tomorrow night, and like I said, we just have to go out there and give 100%.
On Friday night against Slovakia, your approach seems to be very much front foot from the up. How big unbelievably smart?
No, you can't give anything away, really. We're setting out a game plan, and like I said, we're going to go out there and do it. And I thought we were really good the other night against Slovakia, and we were front foot and we brought the game to them. So we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Michael, first of all, just check if there are any issues in terms of the fitness.
No, clean bill of health. Everyone good.
Obviously, we spoke the other night about the loss of Connor for this game. How do you cover for that? What's going to change?
Well, we've got other players that can play in that position, so we're well covered in the squad. We picked a 27-man squad with the intention of knowing that there was potentially suspensions. So we had 4 players coming into this game on yellows. So we covered for that potential eventuality, so that the players, we weren't calling anyone into the squad or they weren't joining up at any point. So the 27 players have been with us since last Sunday. So whoever comes in and plays will be, well conditioned and, know exactly what their job is.
Connor obviously offers that sort of outlet to turn defence into attack. Do you need to change the approach at all without him in the team?
I don't think so. Look, the opponent will mean that we have to probably change slightly, but with the home team, we have everything to gain against a team like Germany, and we will do our best to get the performance level at the same level as we had on Friday night, if not better. There's areas still from Friday night where we believe we can still improve, and we'll aim to do that in the game tomorrow night.
Notice that Connor was still out training with the team. Is he still sort of playing a full role and holding the purpose?
Yeah, he just did recovery today, and he'll stay with the squad until the games finish. Yeah.
Spoken before about this being your 100th game, and how you sort of deflected that. And I just wanted to ask, since you come back, the main challenger did almost clearly a squad, almost completely new squad, almost from teenagers, Bergman's in. How important is that bit for you, just as a fresh challenge?
Yeah, look, it wasn't. When I looked at the squad when I came back into the job, there was still a lot of players that I'd had from my previous squad that were still playing the game at a good level. Unfortunately, whether it was injury predominantly or retirement, it deprived me of a lot of those players. And I felt that we had to build a team. It was forced on us a little bit, and it was important to see what we had coming through. And we had the likes of Trey, who was just starting off at Sunderland at the time, and other young players who hadn't even played or had very limited first team experience. So it takes a little bit of time. I think we've probably got there a little bit quicker than maybe I envisaged at that point. But the most important thing is that there's still so much room for growth in this group of players, and tonight, or tomorrow night rather, is such a great test for them, and it's a game they should really look forward to and cherish to be involved in, and have a real positive attitude in terms of how we approach the game.
Thanks, Ian. Ruth.
Michael, just off the back of that, how much enjoyment do you get coaching this special group? We've talked to a lot of players who have talked about how much they enjoy playing under you. How much do you enjoy coaching them?
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable. I think that every time you come away, and every as an international coach, you're always looking to add something in terms of your preparation, and I think we've done as much as we can in this campaign so far to make sure that everything is done as well as possible. And the most important thing is you get the response from the players, and we've had that. This group, they self-regulate themselves. You don't have to deal with them too much. They all want to play. There's an enthusiasm to play, obviously, and enthusiasm to learn, which is refreshing. and hopefully they maintain that over the years, because it'll make my job a lot easier. But they're a good group, as I say, and they've got everything in front of them.
7 games unbeaten now at Windsor Park, and I think the aggregate scores maybe 12-0 over the last 5. You built this into a bit of a fortress. You all, as a package, have built this into a fortress again. How important is that for tomorrow night?
Look, home form is everything. It's very difficult to win on excuse me, on the road in international football. So making sure we're good at home is essential to giving ourselves a chance to be competitive. And we've got the chance tomorrow night to get a big result, and hopefully we take that.
It sort of reminded a lot of people of the atmosphere, 10 years ago, Euro qualification. Was that as good an atmosphere as you felt at Windsor Park for a long time?
I'll try and answer the question. I've been sick all week, sorry. So, yeah, the atmosphere is great. We've had big games here in the past, and that game, we asked the crowd to give us what they gave us, and the players responded to that. So it is important. I think the team play with a real identity and represent what we are as a country as well, and I think we got that obviously in the performance on Friday night.
And Trey, just to give Michael a minute there to recover. For yourself personally, how much you enjoy being part of this, leadership group? Michael has talked about sharing and captaincy out between the leaders, and you're ultimately one of them. How much are you enjoying that responsibility and, this team a key game more or less?
No, I think from the start, whenever I first came in, you obviously get your way into the group, and the group's changed since the start. A lot of the older and more senior lads have probably dropped out and, like Michael said, get injured or retired or anything like that. So you kind of had to step up. It wasn't really a choice, to be honest. It probably happened naturally. So yeah, I think obviously we have a young group, but there's a lot of leaders in there, and that we just have to keep on improving.
Thanks, Ruth. Gareth, everyone's to try.
How important has Michael been in the development of your career? Obviously at international level, but in terms of where you got to go forward level.
Yeah, I think international football plays a big part, and club football as well. It can help you out, and I think whenever I first came in to the squad under Ian Barraclough, that I probably wasn't playing as much at Sunderland, and I didn't really, obviously he gave me my debut, but I didn't get really many games. So whenever Mike would come in, he put faith in me to obviously start and play games, and hopefully I'm just paying that off really.
Michael, to go back on the Hobbit game thing. If you get a win tomorrow night, would it constitute the biggest result, or certainly a bit of a result in terms of the context and what it could be when they meet the 100 games?
No, I don't. Probably not. Because we qualified for a tournament, and we've won at a tournament, and we got to the last 16 of a tournament. So, sorry not to give you that headline, but yeah, basically, if we win tomorrow night, we'll be on 9 points from 4 games. That's the significance of it, and we've got 2 games left, and that's obviously, the message is pretty clear. This is game 4 of 6. You can label it whatever way you want, but the players are looking at it as game 4 of 6. I'm looking at it game 4 of 6, and we have to make sure, obviously, that we put ourselves in a strong position for game 5.
And Bordy, it keeps obligation in our hands, which is important anyway.
Well, yeah, I don't think we need to look that far ahead. There's various permutations, and in a small group, obviously, it's easy to look ahead and think, well, if that happens and that happens, Germany losing to Slovakia was probably a result that people didn't expect, but it's maybe opened the group up a little bit more. But Slovakia have the benefit of those 3 points that maybe people didn't think they would have. So, look, we have the opportunity now to do what Slovakia did, and we have to obviously aspire to do that.
Thanks, Gareth. Michael Walker.
Michael, if you go back to that Finland, Greece, the 2 standards, that big thing opportunity could be great to work with, basically.
I don't, it's hard. I don't know. Everyone seems to want me to pin something down. I don't really have something that that I would say is the difference with international football is that the team changes and develops, and there's an evolution throughout. So You know, I look back to the first game that I won as an international. It was hard to cut as an international manager here against, you know, Russia, with Fabio Capello as the manager of Russia. And, you know, I remember that very fondly as well, because at that point I thought I might never win a match as an international manager. So, yeah, it was a great start for us to be able to do that. And so I think at different points in your career, you take different pleasures from different positive results. You know, we had some great results in 2018, you know, and great performances as well. And, you know, so I don't really look back and say that they're the highlights of my career. I'm not really that kind of person that I'm looking for highlights. I'm just looking for progression. And so, you know, obviously we have an opportunity in the game tomorrow night to put ourselves in a really strong position in the group. But it's a big ask. You know, like, I think people have to realise that it's a big ask against, you know, still one of the top teams, international teams in European football. And I think we saw that, and, you know, whilst we were disappointed to lose in Cologne, we saw obviously the strength of the German squad with the changes that, you know, Nagelsmann was able to make between game 1 and game 2, and obviously to be able to bring substitutions into the game, and that made them stronger in that game. So, you know, we'll have to deal with a lot tomorrow night, and we have to be ready for that.
Just whenever Trey mentioned about the players enjoying being in each other's company, and you talking about that enthusiasm to learn, that's a real compliment to all of you and what you're trying to build and do.
Well, look, I think, you know, the players have known each other, a lot of them from a young age, and then when players come into the group, they've made it easy for them. You know, a lot of the players in our group the majority of our squad is, you know, under 24. Most of it's probably 22 and under. So I think when you're a young player, it's nice to come away. Sometimes when you're that age, you come into a squad, you don't really have that much responsibility, and it can be a little bit intimidating at times. But what we've done with these young players is we've given them responsibility from quite a young age, and the most pleasing thing is that they've accepted that responsibility, and they've, you know, they've dealt with it. I think they have high standards in themselves, and as a group of lads as well. They know when to have fun, they know when not to have fun, and but the most important thing is that there's a real strong spirit in the group, and you know, a real determination to be successful.
Thanks, Michael. Graham.
Trey, I think you said after the game, feel that anything is possible. You've worked hard with yourself in his position in the group. Belief is a massive thing in sport. You think kick off and out here.
Well, you have to believe anything's possible, really. If you don't believe, then you're not going to be able to do it. Do you know what I mean? But we know how strong Germany are. We knew that from Cologne when obviously they won 3-1, and, you know, we were in the game for a large part of it. But, you know, at that level, if you make mistakes or if you slow down, you know, you'll get punished for it. So we know the challenge that we face, but, you know, like you said, you have to believe always. Yeah, the crowd, you know, every game I've played at international level, whether it's home or away, the fans are magnificent, and they've always been like that. But, you know, the atmosphere the other night was probably one of the best I've played under for Northern Ireland. So hopefully they can match that tomorrow night and, you know, push us.
Seems like a close bond between players. Does it feel like kind of the club mentality or international sport?
There's always a difference between club and international, but, you know, I think if you ask anyone in the squad about coming away, you know, everyone enjoys it. You know, they look forward to it, and, you know, even the older lads and obviously the younger ones that obviously don't play as much, but, you know, they all come away, they all enjoy it, we all get on with each other. So, you know, you do have that wee bit of togetherness, yeah.
And Michael, and I think Germany game, or double header, the second game over the double header, so it's kind of like physical demands. The players are forced to play the way the fixtures have fallen. But I suppose if they went against Slovakia, just that's in boost, just sort of the adrenaline from that can, I don't know, maybe taking pressure off players, people expressing themselves. That one's crucial. I wonder what it's going to be a physical game.
Yeah, look, it was great to get the win the other night and to get the performance that we got. And look, the second game is always easier if you win the first game. But you're right, the physical demands, we put a huge amount into the game on Friday night. We've done a lot of work. The main thing we've done is recovery rather than anything, obviously, in terms of what we've done on the pitch or anything like that there. Anything that we do in terms of the tactical side of the game is pretty much done off analysis and video as opposed to through training. So it's important that we can turn the team around. If you look at our squads, they play. A lot of our squad play in the championship, so they're used to playing Saturday, Tuesday. That we're playing Friday, Monday. It's the same process. You've got to wheel yourself out again, albeit the intensity of the game is higher than a championship game. So I think that we have, a lot of players that are used to, turning themselves around. Trey played 46 games in the championship last season to get himself to the Premier League. So I think the benefit of those players who are in the EFL, they have that experience, and hopefully that will help us. But it's when we will need the bench tomorrow night, obviously, as well, and everyone coming in to be able to play their part and hopefully get us over the line and get us the result that we all obviously would love to get.
Whether it's fair to say that it got sense from the players afterwards that maybe one would consider the manner of some of the goals maybe that were conceded in Cologne that could have been possibly a missed opportunity in a way. Is there an opportunity to sort of go out tomorrow and show how good we can be over the 90 minutes?
Well, look, I think you look at all goals and there's always something you think could be done better, and I think the second goal was a little bit of a freak goal really in terms of the nature of it, and we certainly know we could have defended it better. Like the free kick for me is not a free kick. It's a fabulous strike, but it's not a free kick to begin with. So that decides the game, and the game can go away from you very quickly. And I spoke to players today about past games we've played here against Germany. We've played very well, and we've been beaten by brilliance really at times. Some brilliant goals by the Germans in those games. And if that happens, you can hold your hand up really and say, well, we gave everything we could, but ultimately, the quality of the opposition beat us, and that's what we have to try and aspire to. We have to minimise the quality of the opposition tomorrow night, and hopefully that they don't get the chance to show what quality they have in their ranks as well.
Thanks, Graham. Jonathan, then Ken.
Trey, just somewhat made us in an area that's been the fourth game of six. So
How easy or difficult is that for a player whenever you're thinking bigger picture, like rise the sun offers other days before again the World Cup?
I just personally, you don't really think of the bigger picture. You think of the game that's coming up. If you win the game tomorrow night and you worry about the next game after that, you don't look too far ahead, and you worry about that whenever you do have enough points that you do qualify. That's when you enjoy it. But before that happens, you just focus on the game that's coming up.
Michael, sorry, bring back the record again, but what does it mean to you to be alongside Billy Birmingham and Hughes Man at give you your international there?
It's a nice thing to have. Billy, I probably, he put a lot of faith in me, giving me my international debut at 18 years of age. I'd only been in the professional game at the time for maybe 3-4 months at Newcastle at that time in my career. So it's nice, and maybe, the fact that he put that faith in me has maybe influenced me to put faith in young players as well, and I think that it's a nice thing to have and something for me to be proud of, but it'll be made all the sweeter, obviously, if we get the right result.
And you talked about Connor's suspension earlier, that regardless of the rights or wrongs of the yellow cards, does it seem right to you that 2 yellows over the course of a 6 or possibly the 8 game can't be at least a suspension?
I think it's a little bit severe. I know obviously in UEFA and Euros it's 3. I think that but FIFA's always been 2. I suppose in a smaller group you could say, normally I always felt that 2 bookings was if you're playing in a 6-team group, for example, or a 5-team group, 2 was a little bit harsh. But look, that's the rules. They're there. I think if you watch the tackle back, there's a lot worse tackles in the game that were let go, and for some reason the referee produced a red card at that moment in time, or a yellow card. And obviously, despite all the cameras and VAR and everything we have, we're not allowed to look at that. So those are the rules. We just have to live with it.
Sure thing.
Michael, not naming you here, but do you feel almost where referees, you quite rightly criticised the fact that he didn't book the guy who cleaved Isaac Price, that looks like, right in front of you, and then about a minute later he brings out the card against Connor? Do you think sometimes referees almost react to that, to criticism from officials?
Well, I don't, it's a question for the referee, really, isn't it? I mean, the referee has to be impartial and he has to referee the game without any emotion. I anticipate, obviously, I know that that's difficult for the referees as well, but look, I can't really answer that, you know, but I'm in the game, you know, I can't stand there like a statue, Kenny. I'm emotional, I have to be in the game, so if it's my fault, I'll take that, you know, but it's part of the game, and I look at times how the other technical area reacts, so it's very much part of the game. I didn't think we were, in terms of our reaction in the game, was extreme. I've been opposite a lot of other technical areas that have been a lot more extreme. Yeah, look, that's something that obviously we can't change now.
Well, he was probably lucky he didn't hear my comments from where I was, so...
It's okay. So maybe it's your fault, Kenny.
Looking at Germany, they were able to maybe make some changes at home to Luxembourg, try a few things out. That will help them even maybe resting players. That's an advantage for them. Is it an advantage for you that you've got a much more settled side, maybe coming apart and you may have other changes you consider, but you have had quite a settled 11 minutes so far?
Well, look, we've dealt with injuries in the previous camp. You know, we definitely had players missing from the games in September that would have started. Maybe that's less so now. You know, we're as close, I think, to possibly, you know, our strongest 14 or 15 players that we have at this minute in time in terms of starting. There's obviously players around the squad, and you know, sometimes when you've got limited choice in terms of numbers, you know, you get consistency just through the fact that you have limited choice. Whereas, you know, I think Germany have had, you know, they've changed system a little bit. They've got more choices in terms of personnel, but what you get, I think, with players of the level that, you know, Germany consistently pick, that, you know, they're playing top level club football. So coming in and playing international football, the step to an international game is not so big, if there's any step at all. Whereas obviously we are asking players to step up from sometimes a level of club football, which there is a step up, and I think at times that showed a little bit in some moments of the game in Cologne. But you know, we've looked at Germany in great depth, you know, and we know that you know, when they're good, they're very good. But we also believe there's areas we can hurt them, and you know, the team will be well prepared to hopefully do that.
Trey, just ask you, the defence, Northern Ireland Fixtures is going to come up against Baltimore. Have you got a couple of headed goals for your rivals, Newcastle? But that's not really his game. He's actually, you know, more on the deck and along with Bertz and Gnabry and so on. Just how difficult a challenge was observing that back on the post for you, and you know, based on what you were up against in Cologne as well?
No, you know, obviously the attack, you know how good the full team is, not even just the front three. You know, they're a strong opposition, but you know, that's our job as a defence, and you know, as a team, the whole way from the front to the back, that we have to try and nullify that, and you know, try and not let them play to our strengths and try to play to our strengths. And that's all you can do, really. Try to keep them away from moments where they have quality, and we know they do, but you just try and nullify that.
Sort of thing that supporters say ahead of a match, if you were guaranteed a point now, would you take it?
No, you want 3 points. You want to win every game you play, so that's all you can ask for, really.
And Michael, just on that one, I mean, in the greater context of the group, would you stipple for that now and say, well, that will put us on 7? We have 2 more matches, we can win those.
Well, I'm more a glass half full man, Kenny. You're clearly not. I would go for yes. Let's not settle for anything. Yeah, I'll settle for a top performance, and then we'll take whatever the result is.